Really impressed with just our competitive nature coming out of the locker room. Obviously, we had a bad taste in our mouth coming out of the Western Kentucky game. We played so well through 39 minutes, and we're unable to close that in a really tough environment with their crowd and so forth. But I thought our week of preparation was awesome. The guys were locked in. We went fairly long on Monday and Tuesday, and I thought defensively we got back to trying to be who we are. And just kind of walking back from the radio, talking to Hunter. I think he summed it up best, that 2.5-minute sequence. With 2.5 minutes when we were flying around, I mean, that's kind of how we have to play. That's kind of our identity, and I think that type of play resonates, especially in your own building, when when fans see the players' enthusiasm and energy out there like they had.
Eric, Mason was one of 9 last game. Obviously, I don't have a box, but he was a lot better than that today. He hit it like 57 seconds in. He hit a shot. When he hit that, did you think, okay, he's going to have a good game? Just what did you think of his game today?
Yeah, I thought he was great all week, though. He asked me about every night to come have dinner at my house, but he never showed up. So my wife cooked a lot of extra meals for him, and there were a lot of no-shows. But his practice habits this week were awesome. He was locked in. I thought he was really good defensively tonight. Thought he did a great job of mixing up perimeter shots with 3 balls. Then when he dribble drives, he's got an innate ability to get fouled. I thought, as important as anything was his 13 free throws attempted. But yeah, he got it going tonight, and obviously when we're able to hit double-digit 3 balls, it kind of changes the game for us. And I thought they did a good job running middle pick and roll. When they cut that thing to single digits, they were hurting our 1-5 switches on those middle pick and rolls. And then we went back to the hard show, which we had earlier in the game. And I thought we had a lot more activity down the stretch, because really when that thing got to 9, the question is your team going to respond or not? And I thought they did a great job responding.
Eric, Frank was in here talking about how the live ball turnovers that you guys cashed in were a really big part of the game. Can you speak to how you felt like that impacted the game?
Yeah, I think every team's got strengths and identities and so forth, and we know we're not going to be a great rebounding team. We're not going to hardly ever get offensive rebounds. That's just kind of who we, that's not how we're going to get extra possessions. So one of the things that we keep trying to educate our team on is how do we get extra possessions. For instance, tonight they took 64 shots, we took 60, so we're -4 in the field goals attempted. But having said that, we get to the line 30 times, 3 times more than them, because when you're giving up 14 offensive rebounds to 5, you've got to figure out a way how to get the ball back in your possession. And the way for us to do that is to have active hands and try to get deflections. I thought we got away from that a little bit as the season kind of slowly progressed. I thought we had some really good games of defensive activities, and there's always slippage with every team across the country. But I thought we got back to playing with the offensive pace we needed to. Tonight and the Rice game are the 2 games that we played with pace and pushed the ball, and we tried to show Jimmy Witt we were walking the ball up the floor too much. That's really not who we are. We were kind of turned into a grinded out team for 3 or 4 games, and we don't really need to do that. We want to get good shots every time, but we also have to play with a little bit more pace. And I thought Jimmy rushed the ball up the floor a little bit better, and obviously when Jalen Harris comes in, he rushes it up pretty good for us as well.
When you called the timeout at 11:46, I think it was 68-59. What was the message in that timeout?
It was really just the pick and roll coverage. They were baiting us into the switch, and then they were ISOing and basically just trying to get to the foul line. They're a high free throw attempt team every night that they play, and we got a little bit of foul trouble, and so we just wanted to try to send the ball north 2 dribbles as much as we possibly could off of our hard show once we got out of the switching.
Eric, only 2 turnovers tonight in the first half. I don't think the first one was like under 7 minutes left. How does that play into the style of game that you guys want to play?
Yeah, taking care of the basketball, you know, errors in baseball, turnovers in football, like, you know, valuing the ball is so important. And I've even talked to the team. I know my dad would be rolling over and, you know, thinking about it, but I'd rather take a bad shot than, you know, don't want to turn the ball over. So one of the, you know, we use the soccer term, shot on goal. Like, we got to get shots on goal. They at least have a chance to go in. And your defense can get set up. When you have live ball turnovers, it's just, it's really difficult to win. And we've had some nights where we've had a lot of turnovers, but we've created a lot, and it's kind of saved us. But as the schedule continues to get harder and more difficult or more challenging, taking care of the basketball is going to be something that we've got to continue to talk about, grow as a team.
Eric, I had a couple of things. The 2.5 minute, you guys had an 18-1 run in the first half, and then you obviously had a run late. Which 2.5 minute stretch were you talking about with Hunter?
I thought that with maybe 2.5 minutes to go in the game is what we were talking about when we were flying around and the ball was being deflected and guys were diving on the floor for loose balls. I thought that was like our best, you know, J5 missed a tip dunk. It was that sequence. Even though we didn't score off that possession, I just thought the energy and, you know, I mean, that's how you get fans excited to come back and see you play, is when you play hard like that. From an efforts and energy standpoint. I think people can feel our team's got some passion right now, and you got to play with passion. And our guys, I mean, they were having fun too.
And that shot Mason hit at the end of the half, I'm sure that's how you drew it up. Is that just, what'd you think of that shot? And is that just a sign that, hey, it's his day? You know?
Yeah, I mean, we subbed to get some shooters in right. You know, right when it was going to be, before it was going to be inbounded to try to space it out. We knew, like, if Mason was, or if Isaiah Joe was in the corner, that, you know, it's hard for them to help and push up or trap, even though there was, I think there was 5 seconds on the clock. I thought he got fouled too. But he's, you know, there's a reason that he has a ball in his hands late game. You know, like, sometimes you need a player that can make shots that you don't diagram, or you can make shots when the shot clock's exhausting, or when the defense takes something away, you need a shot creator, and he's able to do that.
Isaiah Joe, 28 minutes tonight. He was very efficient when he was in there, but was all the breaks and the rest that he got in the first half, was it as much a function of you having a lead, or is this something you're going to look to do, is maybe curtail some minutes for some guys when you can?
Sound like my wife. She's always asking if I'm going to rest guys. I mean, we rested him because he had fouls, really, Kevin, because, I mean, that's probably the least amount of minutes he'll play all year. You know, sometimes I think, you know, Mason asked for a blow, Isaiah asked for a blow, and I said, I can't hear you. You know, because those guys are just so valuable. You know, like a tired Isaiah Joe opens up shots for other people, because basically what Isaiah does is he turns the game into a 4-on-4 game, because no one leaves him. Guys are face guarding him. And so even when he's tired, he helps everybody else get easier looks. So I'm not going to probably rest him.
All right, follow up to that. You spent some time in the pool house and the frat house this week. Did you need to get to 100 to get to the penthouse, or are you happy with this? With another week to go to celebrate.
I'm back in the house. My wife told me walking off the floor I can come back and sleep in my own bed.
Just the first half, both Mason and Isaiah had 3 steals each. Just kind of how key was their kind of turning defense into offense?
Yeah, both those guys on the wings do, you know, such an incredible job of jumping passing lanes and using their wingspan and not having their hands in their pocket when they defend, and you know, like, they're both playing up a position, and what I mean by that is Isaiah's a 2 guard or a point, and Mason's a 2 or a 3, and he's playing the 4. So when you got those kind of mismatches, we need those guys to really be active defensively with their hands.
Anthony Rulli took a picture of you listening to Part of My Take earlier this week while looking at the scouting report. Do you listen to PMT because you feel like it helps you kind of relate to the younger generation?
Yeah, I mean, I got to know what my players are thinking, and, you know, I think anything that we can stay as connected to our young guys as possible, we want to try to do.
You don't call a lot of timeouts, so that's by design, but do you feel like since you don't call that many, when you do, it's maybe a little more effective, you get the players' attention?
I think so. I mean, one of the things, you know, having coached in the NBA, you always try to pick people's brains, and one of the coaches, obviously, that I've admired and coached against is Phil Jackson. And Coach Jackson coached in the minor leagues for a long time and worked his way up to coaching the NBA. And I've, had that conversation, asked, like, why not call timeouts? Because two of my good friends, or two of the guys that I really respect as coaches, Jeff Van Gundy and Tom Thibodeau, it seems like they have 1,000 timeouts every game. Like every 2 seconds they were calling timeouts. And so everybody's kind of got their own, philosophy. I watched Nebraska play Indiana last night. Coach Hoiberg did not call a timeout. Nebraska comes down in the flow of the game, hits a three, sends it to overtime. So I think it's just, and different situations are different, and teams are different. And, the thing that's a little bit different, too, in college than the NBA is if you call a timeout with 20 seconds to go or something, you don't know if the team's going to come out in zone or man. In the NBA, I can pretty much tell you 99.9% of the time they're coming out in man, and I can tell you how they're playing pick and rolls. It's just different in college, and sometimes the players need to feel some freedom, and they need to feel that you trust them and you don't try to over-control things. And I think my team right now knows that I trust their judgment, even though sometimes we might disagree on some things, but there is a level of trust for sure.
Questions, Coach? Eric, how good a bounce? We asked you the other day about bouncing back, and you said you hoped you'd bounce back pretty well. How good a bounce back game was that? And then when you have another full week to practice, how good is it to go into a full week of practice coming off a performance like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think our players can really answer that, Bob, as far as like, if we have a lot of time to prep, we should be really good. Like, that's our job as players. That's our job as a staff. It's harder to prep for, and how much information do you give, student athletes if you only have a 2-day prep. If you have a prep like this, I mean, we should know their offense and defensive tendencies and their personnel inside and out. And that should help your defense. We should be able to help guys offensively with what they're doing. So I certainly think that, the prep time helped. And then we talked all week about, how are you going to bounce? Like when we lost a game after winning 8 in a row, like how are you going to come out from an effort and an energy standpoint? Forget the shots, whether they fall or don't. But how tough are you going to play, and how much energy are you going to come out with for 40 minutes after a loss? Because I think that's character kind of telling. Like, you always want to keep that bad. I wanted them to taste that loss, like our staff did, and I think they did. I think they were really upset in that locker room at Western. Like, we had guys that were really hurting, and as a coach, you want that. Like, you don't want to walk into a locker room or get on a bus or get on a plane and hear laughter and guys just blowing it off. That plane ride, guys were hurting. The bus to the plane, they were hurting. In the locker room, they were hurting, and that's what winning cultures are.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, thanks.